Good evening or good morning, depending on when you're watching us. I am Rosalinda Lares. I'm coming from Casa de Amigos. I am going to be teaching from the side-by-side book. All right. I have today the lesson 3 out of your side-by-side book. All right. As I said, my name is Rosalinda Lares. I will be the teacher sometimes. All right. We will be working with the side-by-side book. This is what the student book looks like. All right. And I also have my teacher book. I would suggest, if you don't already have things gathered, like pencils, markers, even if you might like, or if you need things such as a spiral to keep everything together. Okay. Hola, yo soy Rosalinda Lares. Yo voy a ser la maestra de clase de ESL. All right. Si le gusta, necesitan hasta tener un spiral para escribir, para estar con nosotros en la lección. Okay. We are going to do chapter 3, right? And it's talking about the present tense of a verb, and that's a fancy way of saying an action that is happening now. And most actions in the English language, not all of them, but most of them have this nice little ending on them. I-N-G. I-N-G. Most action verbs in English have the ending, word ending, I-N-G. All right. And as you'll see on page 17, you will see that most of them have the I-N-G. So when we're talking about verbs in English, for actions in English, I-N-G. All right. A good way to remember, if it's something that you can do, if it's an action, then it is a verb. It is a verb. It is a verb. A verb. So if you can do it, then it's a verb. It's a verb. All right. All right. And on page 17, on chapter 3, it has a lot of verbs ending in ing. You're to look at the pictures one by one and try to read the word that goes with it. All right. And the ing. All right. So there'll be times when I will pause so that you can take a look at the page that I'm talking about, and also where you can do the activity, all right? So it's good to have the spiral so that you can write something down, and then if you have questions, maybe they will have a time when I will be able to get on and you can talk to me, all right? Okay. So again, before we get really started, my name is Ms. Lares, all right? We are going to be talking about present tense, and those are verbs. Those are verbs. That's actions. Actions. And a lot of actions in English have an ing. That means we're doing them right this minute. Right this minute. All right. Okay. In using those ing words, those verbs, we're also going to be using pronouns. And those are words that we use instead of a person's name, because we don't always use a person's name when we're talking to them. All right. We have the pronoun, of course, of ourselves, which we call ourselves I. We have the pronoun he when we're talking about a male. We have the pronoun she when we're talking about a female. We have it when we're talking about an object. Okay. We usually don't call a person an it. All right. Okay. It's an object. All right. Okay. And there are pronouns that are singular. All right. That means one person. One person pronouns. Talking about one person. Then we have pronouns that are also talking about more than one. All right. Okay. We. you, which is one, okay, and they, all right, they kind of put them together with you, even though it means just one, all right. We, you, and they are more than one. You, it's kind of funny, it's kind of tricky. They put it kind of more than one, but these are the one person, I, she, and he, all right. So as we use the verbs today, we're also going to be using pronouns instead of people's proper names. So on the first picture, I'm saying it and then I'm going to pause so that you can say it, all right? I'm going to not just say the verb, I'm also going to add the pronoun, all right? Okay, so the first one, I'm on page 17. Okay, page 17 on the side by side. Number 1, he is eating. Then you repeat. Number 2, she is drinking. And then you repeat. Number 3, he is cooking. Right? And then number 4, she is reading. And then number 5, he is studying. He is studying. All right. So you can go back and practice those by adding that pronoun. Number 6, she is teaching. Number 7, he is singing. Number 8, she is sleeping. And number 9, he is swimming. Number 10, she is planting. Okay. He is watching TV. Number 12, she is listening to music. 13, she is playing cards. Then 14, he is playing baseball. And then 15, he is playing the piano. So we use the pronouns he and she for a woman and a man. All right. Okay. On page 18, we see again the pronouns. All right. And the articles am, is, and are. Those are states of being. All right. And they ask a question. All right. They have a picture of the house, and you can go back and look at that on your own and practice reading the question and then answering. You might have someone in your house read the question and you answer, and then you trade places, and then they read the question and you read the answer. So it's just a conversation going back and forth to practice. So what are you doing? I'm reading. What are you doing? We're cooking. So you can practice that back and forth with a person in your house. All right, okay. And on the same thing on the next page, on page 19, it continues where it has the blank, where you have to decide what your answer is. What are you doing? I'm reading the newspaper. Okay, all right. And that's one person. You have to decide if you need to use the pronouns I, he, or she, or we, you, or they on those. All right, is it one person or is it two people? All right, so you have to decide on that one. All right, so that's number 2 is what are Mr. and Mrs. Lane doing? Right, you have to decide if it's two people or one person. Which pronoun are you going to use? And what word are you going to start with? Okay. It starts always with what, because you're asking a question. And then you have to decide if you're going to use am, is, or are. And almost all the time when it's more than one, it's going to be are. Okay. All right. Number 3. What are you and Judy doing? And then they answer, there's 2 people, so they're going to use the pronoun we. We are eating dinner. Okay. And number 4, What is Rita doing? She is studying English. Now, this would be a very good page to practice on your journal, on your spiral, if you have a spiral to write on, all right? Practicing the sentence, right? You take your sentence and you decide which one you're going to use for your, to orally say it. So you can orally practice it, and then you can also write it. So you can practice writing it, okay? So what are you doing? What are you doing? And if you look, I'm back on picture number 1. Okay, there's one person. So I am reading the newspaper. Okay, so you could write those out in your journal, all right? And then you could have someone in your family practice. Someone ask the question, someone answer, and then you could flip-flop to practice orally the English, and then you could also write it, so you're actually practicing writing. Writing and speaking and listening all go together, all right, and talking, all right? So the next one, there's more than one. So here's one person, okay? We're using the pronoun I and am, all right? I and am, the pronoun and the article am, all right? Then the next one, I'm going to skip down to page, to number 6, sorry, not page, number 6, all right? What are Carol and Ken doing? What are Carol and Ken doing? Now they use proper nouns here, Carol and Ken. They gave them a name, all right? But when they answer, they're going to not use I because it's more than one, of course. So we, the pronoun means the more than one. We are watching TV. We are watching TV. Okay, so you could write that in your journal. All right, sorry I'm not up here in the top because I can't reach, it's a little too high. But what are Carol and Ken doing? We are watching TV. So it may be easier to write them first instead of looking at the blanks and then trying to say it. Might be easier to write and then go back and practice saying it with a partner, with someone in your house. All right, okay. This lesson covers a lot. It covers the pronouns, it covers the ing words, and it also covers the articles am, are, okay, and is, and it also is going to cover contractions, all right? So the lesson has a lot in it, all right, to use, okay? We're going to be talking about the action that's happening at the moment, all right? Not future, not past. We're talking about action right at the moment, all right? That it's happening right now. So remember that when you're looking at the lesson, okay? And as I said, that ing, not always, but most of the time we use ing for things that are happening at the moment, okay? I'm going home, I'm teaching, I'm eating. It's happening at the moment. Most of the time it's ing, and that ing by itself says ing, and then we add a word to it. It's a verb, it's an action, something that happens, all right? And the fancy word they use for the title a verb is present tense, continuous, it's happening, all right? That's why your chapter is the title of that. All right, so I'm on the next page is going to be page 20 for you, but I'm going to talk a little bit about from my book, okay? All right, so we're going to create some verbs. We're going to create some verbs. All right. And then use the verb. Okay. Remember ing. Okay. The verb means action. A verb means action. Okay. Verbs are anything that we can do. Anything that we can do. All right. So we have, I'm going to do a few. Here's play. When we add that ing, it becomes playing. Okay. There's quite a few on that very first page of the chapter. Quite a few. All right. Okay. We have cooking. Cook. Cooking. All right. Reading. Read. Reading. All right. So those are all actions. They are all something that we do when we add that ing. All right. Okay. On the page 20 of yours in your book again. All right. Okay. What is everybody doing? Okay. It's the prompt for talking. Okay. All right. People are having a conversation and they used, where's Walter? He's in the kitchen. What is he doing? He's eating breakfast. All right. So there again, we're talking about actions that are happening at the moment. Present tense. All right. Okay. So you have an example there of the words they want you to practice using. Where's Walter? He's in the kitchen. What's he doing? He's eating breakfast. On the rest of them, you practice by changing each of the scenarios, each of the events, right? Okay, so instead of Walter, it's going on number one, it's going to be Karen. Where is she at? She's at the park. And then what is she doing? She's eating lunch. So you would use those prompts to practice the sentence. Where's Karen? She's at the park. What is she doing? She is eating lunch. So you would practice those, all right? So there are 6 of those, all right? So if you want to stop and practice, stop the video and practice, that's okay. Or you can continue listening to the lesson and then go back and practice, all right? Okay, so there's several of those. There's 12 of those for you to practice. You just follow the model of the conversation on the very top of page 20. You just change the person, the place, and the action, all right? Just like on number 2, the people are Mr. and Mrs. Clark. Where are they at? They're in the dining room, the place, and the action is they're eating dinner. So you would use a conversation prompt to practice the conversation, all right? Okay? All right. And then on page 22, you have where you're reading a little story, all right? Reading a little story. All right. I did say that they were going to be also using contractions, all right? Okay. You should have had those contractions in the lesson before because, excuse me, on mine it says it's a review, all right? So you should have had those contractions. And let me see if you did. I'm going to look back on that lesson and make sure that you had those contractions. Yes, you did. All right. Well, they're not contractions. So yeah, they are contractions. All right, for the verbs to be. They're not. There are for instead of I am, I'm. He is, he's, and you did have them back on lesson number 2. All right, and they are on page 11 of chapter 2 on the very top right-hand corner if you want to go back and look at those verbs to be in contraction form. All right, because in the lessons today, they're asking you to also practice using contractions, but they don't really talk about them. All right, so if you don't know what those be contractions are, they're on page 11 on the very right-hand corner, and you had them on lesson number 2. All right. All right, and on page, going back to 22, there's a little story there. All right, I'm not going to read you the story. It's for you to practice reading the story, okay? And then it's also for you to practice, do you understand what you're reading, all right, as you're reading it in English? And then ask you some questions on the side, all right, okay? All right. So you would listen to both of the stories and listen and do the little reading checkup on the side. All right, so that again, it's another good time to stop and pause the video if you want and to practice those things. All right, real quick before I go on, make a recap what we're doing. All right, we are on lesson 3. Okay, on the lesson 3, we are working with verbs, and verbs are anything that we can do. It's an action, all right? And the verbs we're working on are the ones that have the ing at the end, okay, that say ing, all right? We're also working with pronouns, I, he, and she, and we, you, and they, and also it. And we don't ever use it for a person, we use it for objects, all right? Pronouns that usually mean one person are I, he or she, and you. And those that mean more than one person are we and they, okay? All right, so we are working with verbs and pronouns and practicing using those in a sentence, all right? Okay, I suggested on your spiral that you write the sentences that are on page 19 of your side-by-side, all right? So that you can write them down and then practice orally. What are you doing? I'm reading the newspaper. And our voice would change a little bit when we hear that question mark. Isn't it called an inflection? We're asking a question. What are you doing? All right, I'm reading the newspaper. What are Carol and Ken doing? We are watching TV. All right, so you might want to write that out, right? So it's easier for you to practice saying it, right? So writing and orally practicing is going to help you, all right? So you want to do both. You want to do both. All right. And then I asked you if you could not remember the contractions. They are on, you had them on lesson 2, and they are on page 11. And those are the B contractions, right? They are also on page 18, also on page 18 of lesson 3, up on the corner, all right? Okay. On the right-hand corner again. All right. Then we also went over what is everybody doing? What is everybody doing? All right. And they have the scenario. The scenario changes with each of the pictures. You can stop and pause and practice those. It tells you the person, the place, and what they're doing. The person, the place, and what they're doing. And just change it from the first part and practice it, all right? So change that scenario for you, all right? Then we went over the part where you are reading the story, all right? On page 24, okay? On page 24, I'm gonna practice reading and you listening, all right? And then you're gonna practice saying it back to me, all right? You can stop and say it, or you can go ahead, if you're listening to the video, listen to all of them and then go back and practice. But I'm gonna read them as if someone was answering me back, okay? All right. What are you doing? What are Jim and Jane doing? Where are Mary and Fred? Where are you and Judy? What are you doing? Where are Carol and King doing? Where are Mr. and Mrs. Lane? Where are you and Henry? All right. Okay. So those are just practicing asking a question. And of course, I have a little journal there, which I suggest you get a little spiral to write in. All right. You have a couple pages there to work on. Okay. A couple pages to work on when you're doing the grammar focus. Excuse me, where you practice matching the sentence to the answer over here. And also you have a reminder of the verbs and the contractions, okay, of the people, all right. He is, he's, all right, those are there again, all right. Which one are you going to use? You have to decide which one you're going to use, all right, to do the questions and answers and to complete the sentences. All right, and the last part is the Gazette. That looks like a newspaper, all right. We hardly see newspapers anymore, but they do exist, all right, okay. And it allows you another chance to practice let's look at this section here, building vocabulary, all right, okay. I am playing the violin. I am playing the clarinet. I am playing the trumpet. Okay. I am playing soccer. I am playing tennis. I am playing basketball. Right? So playing is a word that we use for quite a few actions. All right. I am playing chess. I am playing checkers. I am playing tic-tac-toe. So you can practice using your contraction or taking the contraction off. I am playing, I'm playing. I'm playing, I am playing, all right, okay? All right. Then we have actual pictures on page 26. We have actual pictures on page 26. All right, where we apply using those verbs, all right, okay? Okay, so we're gonna actually look at pictures. We see the two men shaking hands. They're shaking hands. We see the two ladies greeting each other with a kiss. They're kissing. They're bowing. And the last one, they're hugging. Okay, so we think about how people greet each other, greeting each other, all right? In our country, of course, it's customary to shake hands. It's customary to hug. Some people will hug, and if you're really close to the person, it's also okay just to wave or and say and use the word hello. But that part is talking about real life, adding how do you greet someone? Think about how you greet someone, right? We greet our friends sometimes differently than we greet our boss, of course. We greet our children differently than we greet our spouses. So think about how you greet someone. What are the words that we use to greet someone? All right, so that's what they're asking you to do that. Think about a real life situation, okay? And that finishes the chapter, all right, okay? So my suggestion for the chapter is for you to practice orally and writing, all right, and listening, all right? So again, practice writing out those sentences. What are you doing? I am reading the newspaper. What are Carol and Ken doing? We are watching TV, all right? Remember, we are concentrating on actions that are happening at the moment. And that ing, most of the time on a word, is happening right at the moment. It's not the only action word. There can be more than one. There's an example on there. On your chapter, they're all ing words. They're all actions with ing. All right. Okay. So if we add ing to a word, well, it's going to make it a verb. It's going to make it something that you do. All right, something you do. We practice using our pronouns for one person, I, he, and she, and it for an object. We don't call a person an it. All right, and we, you, and they. All right, for more than one person. All right, okay. A group of people or a couple, we might say they. All right, and you would also be for one person. All right, are you going to the store? You're talking to someone else, so you're asking them, are you going to the store? All right. So we did talk about verbs, action verbs. They have a fancy word here for present continuous tense, which just means verbs, actions that are happening right at the moment. All right, so we practice our pronouns, practice writing and answering, deciding which pronoun we needed to use, which article we needed to use, am and are, or is was the other one. All right. And then we built some ing words. All right. And then, as I suggested, if you don't already have something, get you something to write in so you can practice a spiral, even a piece of paper. All right. Remember, you can always pause me so you can practice what I've said. All right. Okay. Maybe there will be a time when you will be able to join me live and you can ask questions. All right. But for now, the lesson is over. So we're practicing here. What you're practicing is continuous verbs, present continuous verbs. That means it's happening right at the moment. All right. And they usually are with ing. All right. I would suggest you practice orally and writing. Okay. I'm sure there's someone at your house that you can practice with. Okay. I look forward to doing another lesson, to seeing you again. When I teach in class, I will explain some things in Spanish and go back to English, but since we are on video, I'm mostly talking in English. If you need me to clarify some things for you in Spanish, I can also do that. I can add more of that. But mostly for the video, the lessons in this book are pretty simple, where you can understand me in English, I believe. Okay, but let me know what you need as far as how you need me to guide you in the lesson. Let me know what you need. Again, my name is Ms. Lattis. I'm coming from Casa de Amigos, and we did the lesson from Side by Side, chapter 3, lesson 3. Have a good evening, good day, and God bless, and make sure you stay safe. Bye.